July 23rd Road, 1944. Dusk dragging a copper edge across the barracks windows. The day's heat leaks out of the prairie and the camp takes on its evening hum, boots on boards. The clink of tin cutlery. The soft creak of ropes as laundry lines sway. Inside Barrack 7B, Carl Muller sits on the lower bunk with a postcard on his knee. Pencil hovering. The card is stiff and official. Boxes to tick. Space for 50 words. Nothing more. Ich bin gesund. He writes slowly. I am healthy. He hesitates over what comes next. Outside, a bell rings twice, and the murmur rises into excitement. The picture house. Feldwebel Franz Weber stands by the door with his cap in his hands. Eyes tracing the posted schedule once more. Lichtspielhaus, 2000 hours. The same board gives rules in crisp German type. The language clean as a blade. Respect the guards. No smoking during the film. Return to barracks by taps. A Red Cross emblem sits in the corner like a seal of approval. Weber presses his fingers into the felt of his cap until they leave dents. Movie theaters in a prison camp. He can say the words, he cannot make them fit. The line for the theater snakes along a cinder path glowing faintly in the last light. The building is plain, tar paper. Whitewashed sign. Double doors with wire mesh windows, yet the air in front of it crackles like a fairground. Guards lean easy along the wall. Gerunds slung. The brass of their belt buckles gone dull in the evening. Sergeant Ramirez stands at the entry, clicking a hand counter in rhythm with the footsteps. Keep it tight, fellas. No crowding the aisle. He glances up as Carl and Weber step through. Seats to the left. Leave space for the row end. And don't touch the booth door. That thing bites. Inside, the theater breathes like a living thing, warm. A little stale. Smelling of canvas, floor wax, and the faint metallic tang of hot lamp housings. The ceiling is hung with blackout drapes that swallow any stray light. Wooden benches face a whitewashed screen stretched taut on a frame. Along one aisle, a private lays out buckets of canteen lemonade in tin cups. Another guard tosses a baseball in his palm. The skin of it scuffed and dark. From the back room behind a pane of glass comes the whir. Pause. Whir of the projector testing its voice. The first reel rattles to life. Light pours into the room like water. Dust motes dancing in the beam. The soundtrack spits and then finds its groove. A swell of brass announcing a newsreel. A marching band. A black and white crowd waving flags. The narrator's English rolls. Too quick for most of the Germans, and then, almost immediately, German subtitles snap into place, blocky. Slightly crooked letters burned into the image. Carl tilts his head. Somebody arranged this for them. It is a small detail that lands heavy. Weber sits rigid, hands flat on his knees. As the reels turn, news from a world that continues without him, ships sliding down ways. Men in coveralls, women at lathes with bandanas on their hair. A short comedy follows. Two men with hats too small for their heads and trousers too big for their legs. Laughter starts as a ripple from the American side and then, as a pratfall lands with perfect timing, breaks across the room from both uniforms at once. A gray-sleeved elbow bumps a khaki sleeve. Neither man moves away. Weber closes his eyes for a moment and listens to a sound he had not expected to hear again. Uncomplicated laughter. The second feature is a western. The kind Ramirez had promised. Sun-scorched mesas fill the screen. Horses throw dust. A man in a broad hat pushes back his coat to show the grip of a revolver. Carl feels the pull of the story despite himself, the simple physics of good and bad, of long rides and longer looks, of a saloon piano going silent the moment the door swings open. He glances down the row and sees a guard, the catcher from the afternoon, leaning forward with the same boyish focus as the prisoner 2 seats away. The guard chews a piece of gum and whispers through his teeth in time with the hero's draw. The gum smells sweet, almost medicinal. It has been a long time since sweetness. At intermission the lights come up to the drone of the projector's fan. A corporal with a battered cap slides through the aisle with a box, neatly folded pamphlets. A library list typed on onion skin paper. Pencil stubs tied with string. Sign here if you want Deutsch books. He says carefully, the consonants a little heavy, and taps a column headed Goethe. Thomas Mann. Karl May. Weber raises an eyebrow at Carl. Karl May? He murmurs. Cowboys and Indians. His mouth curls before he can stop it. Sergeant Ramirez appears at the back, leaning on the door with one boot heel kicked against the jamb. He nods at a tall German with a mechanic's hands in grease under his nails. You were a projectionist back home? The man shrugs and half smiles. Kino in Dresden. Ramirez jerks a thumb over his shoulder toward the booth. Eddie could use a hand when the reels jump. We got splices as ugly as my handwriting. He looks to Weber, then to Carl. There's work on the farm detail day after tomorrow. Bus leaves at 0500. Pays in canteen chits. You get fresh air either way. He pushes off the door. And tomorrow evening? The ball field's open. The lights dim again, and the Western gallops toward its final showdown. Score thundering from a speaker with a crackle in its cone. For a few minutes the war shrinks to the width of the screen. The geometry of a dusty street. The way a man's shadow shortens as he steps into the noon of his fate. When the credits roll, the room exhales as one thing. A shared breath, and then people are on their feet. Milling, chatting in halting bilinguals that stub and restart. Hands sketching meaning in the air. Back in the barracks, Taps finds them slowly. The projector's afterimage still ghosts the eyes. In 7B the door stands open to the night. Cooler now, the prairie singing with insects. Carl lies on his bunk and watches the shadows of the bed slats above him. He hears a harmonica somewhere. A tune GIs hum without quite knowing the name. He hears Weber rummage at the footlocker. Metal on metal, then stop. Es ist eine Falle, Weber says finally into the dark. It is a trap. The words are thin, like wire. He clears his throat. They make us soft. Across the aisle a man laughs at a joke told in undertone. The kind of laugh that slides out when a day feels like a day again. Carl turns his head. They make us human. He says, so quietly he's not sure if he has spoken aloud. Morning steals in with the smell of coffee from the mess and hot bread. Reveille snaps the camp awake. Outside, the diamond glows newly chalked. The lines crisp. The mound built up with a careful hand. A stack of bats leans against the backstop, Louisville sluggers with their varnish worn away to a silk finish. Labels pressed into the grain. A GI with forearms like bridge cables oils a catcher's mitt. Working the leather in slow circles. He lifts his eyes, catches Carl watching, and nods once. The universal language for come try. Weber steps to the fence and grips the chain link. Knuckles whitening for a heartbeat. Then easing. The whistle for work detail blows in the distance. The volunteer list for the baseball league hangs on a nail by the backstop. A pencil stuck through the paper. For half a breath, the whole camp balances on the hinge between 2 days, the one you expected and the one that is actually here. Ramirez walks up with a ball in his hand. You swing right or left? He asks Carl. Conversational, as if the answer will sort the world out. Carl looks at the bat, at the field, at the men already running drills like they've got a pennant to win. And the answer he gives surprises even him. Right, he says. July 24, 1944. Morning bleached pale and clean over Camp Algona. Dew clings to the outfield grass in silver threads. And the infield dirt is still dark with water from a GI's sloshing bucket. The bats lean like a little fence against the backstop. A ring of men, khaki and field gray mixed, forms around the mound. Everyone pretending not to stare at everyone else. Sergeant Ramirez flips a baseball in his palm. The soft thud against his callus steady as a metronome. Okay, he says, voice carrying but unhurried. Game's simple. 3 strikes. You're out. 4 balls. Take your base. Force plays. Tag plays. Fly balls, you'll learn. His eyes cut to Carl. And you said you swing right. Carl nods, fingers testing the slick neck of the bat. Up close it feels heavier. Alive with bruises from 100 collisions. Private Delaney, the catcher from yesterday. Square-jawed and easy, tosses a glove to Weber. First you gotta stop something. Delaney says, grinning. Put that on. The leather puddles in Weber's palm. Supple, smelling of oil and rain. He slides his hand in. The glove swallows his fingers. Then settles, as if made to be there. Across the diamond, a German from the next barrack, Hans Richter. An apprentice machinist turned infantryman. takes grounders at second under the eye of a corporal with a whistle. Each hop sends little puffs of dust blinking in the sun. Hands in front, the corporal says, demonstrating with a flat glove and soft knees. Cradle, not stab. He switches to slow, careful German. Wie ein Baby. The joke is dumb and lands anyway. Richter snorts. The ball eats a short hop and pops neatly into his web. He blinks like he's caught a trout. A bell clangs by the gate. A Red Cross truck rattles past, the emblem clean and bright on its panel. Two men in civilian suits jump down. White armbands, clipboards tucked under elbows. One of them, thin, mustache like a pencil line, talks with the camp doctor. Both nodding toward the mess hall, toward the chapel, toward the theater whose door now yawns in the morning like a benevolent mouth. They stand a moment by the bulletin board and read the schedule, library hours, work sign-ups, movie nights, chapel, baseball league. The mustached man smiles, draws a neat checkmark, then shades his eyes toward the diamond where a prisoner in a soft cap is pivoting to fire to first. Let's run a double play, Delaney calls, slapping his mid twice. 2, 2 and 1. He points with two fingers and the field shifts. The shortstop creeps. The second baseman cheats the bag. The first baseman readies his foot against the canvas pillow that says home in black stencil on one side because true first base pillows are in short supply out here. Ramirez lobs the ball. The swing chases it. The grounder hisses across the dirt. Richter tongues his lip and moves right. Glove down. It kisses the leather, pop, and he flips to the shortstop. A lanky GI who straddles the bag. Right toe grazing the white chalk line. Catch, plant, turn, throw. The ball hums chest high to first. Thump. The chalk wobbles where someone's heel catches the edge in the pivot. Invisible lines shift into visible ones. On the sideline, a chaplain in shirt sleeves passes cups of water. He nods to Carl. You have a good eye. His German is schoolroom formal but kind. You watched last night. Carl weighs the words. It was different, he says. The chaplain smiles. That's the idea. Weber crouches at home under Delaney's instruction. Thumb outside the pocket. Delaney says, that way, when it stings, you still wrap your hand around your knife at chow. The joke lifts a few eyebrows and dies harmless. Weber nods, tries the stance again. The weight on his thighs is unfamiliar, but it feels like an order executed. Set, balanced, ready. He throws the ball back to the makeshift pitcher. A farm boy private with a constellation of acne and a windmill delivery. And is surprised when the return throw leaves his hand straight. True, without wobble. By mid-morning, teams have coalesced without ceremony. Algona guards, chalked on one board. 7B7D Varane, on another. The umpire is a big-shouldered GI. Sleeves rolled. A little pocketbook of rules poking out of his back pocket like a field manual. He taps the plate with his shoe. Play ball. The first pitch finds Carl standing in the batter's box. Feet too close together. Heart doing a drummer's roll in his throat. He remembers the Western. The way the hero planted his boots. The way stillness came before motion. He widens his stance. Feels the bat lift. Not heavy now but like an extension of his forearms. The wind riffles the pennant someone has scissored from a flour sack and tacked to the backstop. The pitcher nods to Delaney. The ball leaves his hand with the faintest off-white spin. It grows, then shrinks, then opens again like a fist in the air. Carl swings. The sound is bright, wood on leather, precise as a metronome tick in a silent room. The ball skims over the second baseman's glove and drops. Soft, into the outfield grass, kicking up silver threads of dew. A shout tears itself from the bench, 24 throats. Languages colliding into one wordless cheer. Carl runs, lungs hot, the bass thumping his arch like a heartbeat. He looks up at first and meets the eyes of the American holding the bag. The man grins without showing teeth, a habit from some family's kitchen table. Good stick, he says. Carl laughs because he doesn't know what else to do. Time, the ump says, and brushes the plate with the back of his hand. The Red Cross men watch from the fence, scribbling something neat and small. Beyond them the chaplain's jaw works on a sunflower seed. Ramirez leans on the dugout roof. Forearm glistening, eyes under the brim soft. For a second, The war recedes far enough to make room for something that isn't an argument of rifles but a set of rules agreed to in chalk and leather. Weber comes up with a man on. Delaney shifts his mask up and squats even lower. One knee almost in the dirt. You like the high ones. He says. Nobody likes the high ones. He flashes 2 fingers low and inside. The pitcher shakes him off. Then nods. In. The pitch bites at the knees. Weber's swing is late and angry. He fouls it into the screen, where it hangs a moment like a trapped bird, then drops. Breathe, Carl calls from first, surprising himself. At me. Weber steps out of the box and looks at the bat as if it owes him money. He resets. The next ball comes slower. A show of something like generosity. Weber catches it on the meat, drives it to the gap in right center. The sound is better than the last, rounder, fuller, and the run scores. Carl tearing up the chalk and then sliding across the plate on a jitter of adrenaline. The dust warm against his shin. Delaney helps him to his feet with a hand under the elbow. As if they've danced this dance 100 times. By noon the game cracks into its easy rhythm. Outs. Hits. Arguments over a tag. The umps gravelly. Safe. Ending them with the finality of a judge's gavel. Between innings. A guard and a prisoner trade gloves. Test the leather. Grunt in appreciation. The Red Cross men drift away satisfied. The chaplain kneels to help a German knot his shoelace. Then tucks in the end like a mother hen. A light breeze picks up. On the far edge of the camp a bus idles for the farm detail. Its motor a dull promise of sweat and paychits and the smell of dirt that is not raked and patrolled but alive. Last inning. Ramirez calls as the sun hardens. Work crews at 1300. He tosses the ball to the pitcher and turns. Scanning the faces. Flushed. Grinning. Squinting. He counts quietly. Lips moving. A habit that never leaves a sergeant. He looks satisfied. The final out comes on a fly ball that seems to hang forever. Weber is under it. Glove out. Mouth a thin line. Body language that of a man volunteering for responsibility he never asked for. He squeezes. The ball whispers into leather. The bench erupts. The Germans shout, gut. The Americans shout, way to go, and for a blown. Strange, necessary second the fence means nothing at all. After, as men drift toward chow lines and shade, Ramirez ambles to the backstop where Carl is brushing dry dirt from his trouser leg. He spins the baseball on a finger. You're on first shift tomorrow. He says mildly, chin flicking toward the bus. Farm detail. He nods to Weber. And projectionists' helpers open tonight. Eddie's got reels. We could use a steady hand. He looks past them, beyond the wire, toward the flat endless fields. Plenty of summer left. Weber rolls the ball in his palm once. Then places it back in Ramirez's hand like a pledge. Tonight, he says, I will help. He glances at Carl, who is reading the volunteer list tacked to the post. The pencil tethered with string. The line for baseball rosters has grown untidy with excited handwriting. Carl lifts the pencil and prints his name slowly, carefully, like a man signing for a parcel he never expected to receive. The bell rings for mess. The projector hum tests itself in the theater. A dragon clearing its throat. Out on the diamond, the chalk lines fade in the foot traffic. But the baselines remain as faint scars in the dirt. You can still see them when you know where to look.